All right, believe we are live. Here we are. Hello, everybody. What day is it today?
Happy Saturday.
Saturday. It's Saturday. All right.
Saturday. I hope everybody's at home relaxing.
Yes.
Or
Okay.
outside. Outside in the park by yourself. That's kind of where I would like to be.
It would be kind of nice. It's a little hot though.
It is a little warm, but it's like cloudy and it gets back. So I think I told you I'm helping my friend take care of her chickens.
Yes.
So it was like, it got a little bit cloudy because I kind of feel bad letting them out of the coop because it's so hot. I don't think they care, to be honest.
Right.
But I was like, can it just stay a little bit overcast so they can at least kind of hang out in the yard?
Yeah.
They're so cute. So cute.
How fun. Chickens.
Chickens. There's one, I have to look back again because I don't want to get their names wrong. So next time we do one, I'll make sure I'll talk about each individually one because they have their personalities and everything. So it's kind of cute. Yeah, no, they're fun. They're so pretty too. Sweet. I like it.
That's fun. That's fun. Pet sitting is a good thing. Good side gig.
Yeah. And it just kind of gets your mind off other things. I think pets are, in general, I think if you have a pet, it's a good thing too.
Yes.
Kind of I'm doing. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Pets are a necessity for sure.
Yeah.
Me, anyway. Okay, I think my ring light just moved, you guys. It's a little weird. All right.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Just making sure my setup isn't right about to, fall down on top of me. That would be
Do you have one of those ring lights? I still need to get one.
I do. Yeah, it makes a big difference with the video, with the color of the video, actually. So, yeah, it's good stuff. Amazon,
yeah.
Expensive. Yeah.
You can get everything through Amazon.
I know. And we have been.
I know. To be honest, like of all the flips that we're doing right now, like all of it, because I go through this like comparison of prices between Home Depot, Lowe's, and Amazon, and try to like get everything. Tons. I mean, it was like boxes and boxes delivered this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel actually right now, as we speak, is unloading an Amazon delivery that came right before we went live. So that's every couple of days we're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So today we're going to talk about our weirdest deals. We did our best deals. We did our worst deals. We did something else. Oh, I think we did our most profitable deal.
Yes, profitable deal.
Yes. So we figured we would share our weirdest deal because we've done our fair share of odd deals. And I think that aside from it being interesting, there's always something to learn about a weird new experience.
Yeah. And it's like, doesn't necessarily have to end in a deal. It's just the whole situation, I think, that is just strange.
Yeah.
And kind of hard to follow sometimes. You just think, how can this happen? But it does. So.
Yes. Yeah. All kinds of weird things happen when you're in the midst of putting together a deal, talking to somebody about a potential deal. So let's get to it. Angie, would you like to share yours first?
Sure. I actually have two. One of them was a little longer, but the first one, because I totally forgot, because I remember we were talking about it, and I'm like, I don't know, because they all seem weird to me. So I thought one of our second flip, because the first flip that we did was a really small condo, but our second flip was out in Sun City. There was a woman, she was deceased, and her home had been empty for about 2 years, I think it was 2 years. Henrik and John And I think Charlie Sullivan might have been one of the door knockers on this. Either way, we got it under contract. Everything went well. The son did not live in town, and he had done absolutely nothing to the property. I think the neighbors were kind enough to go in there and kind of like sweep and keep it a little bit, you know, safe, I guess, so that it didn't get out of hand.
Yeah.
But it was strange to walk into. It was, the whole time warp kind of thing where you go back and it's like your grandma's house and
Yes.
nothing's moved. Like it's exactly how it was when she left. And actually, I think some things have been, because there's another property that we'll talk about later. That one completely nothing had moved. So it's very strange to walk into these places where you know that somebody had a whole life there and there's nothing. Nobody did anything to not even move, the little trinket next to the table kind of thing. So everything's the same. I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Thank you. I'm COVID negative. I'm totally fine. Before people start saying something, and I sneeze in my hands. I'm so sorry. I'm supposed to sneeze in my elbow.
It's okay. You're at home.
Yes. So when we were gonna go ahead and take over that Saturday, we end up in the home. The neighbors had asked for some of the furniture, which helped us out in clearing it out. But in doing so, when I arrived, there was a little box on the stove. And I remember thinking, what is this box? I didn't really pay attention, kept going, throughout the morning. We're still cleaning out. Then finally I went over there to the stove and it's about this big, kind of like the size of a Bible. And it had a name. And I thought, oh my God, these are ashes. So I remember standing there holding it, and of course, me being Catholic, like I said, a little prayer, because I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is so bad. I feel really bad, and I don't know if this is sacrilegious in some way. And at that point, one of the gentlemen, the neighbor, came over and he said, I found that in the back of the closet. I figured you'd want to do something with it. And I'm standing there like, I don't know anybody. I've never talked to the family. I have no connection, right? But I felt so bad, and I thought, who would leave their mom's ashes in the back of the closet? That's so
Right.
wrong, And I felt super responsible. So all of us got together, and we were like, well, what do we do? we can. I think somebody's like, we could take it to the church. This whole thing. Her real name was not Agnes, but we call her Agnes. She's still with us. She never made it to the church. We truly think she ended up in one of our cars for a little while, and ended up back in our office. And she's still with us. We think that she brings us good luck. We also think that she kind of enjoys our banter, in the office, because things that happen, it is kind of funny sometimes. And I feel like we provide some sort of entertainment for her. But we have her. And I hope that there's nothing wrong with that. I think if anything, maybe she appreciates it and she's having some fun. But yeah, so I think that was the very first weird thing that happened to us.
And
so I don't know.
I remember that happening, but what I don't remember is, was anybody able to get an answer from the son about if he wanted to collect the ashes? He did not?
No, he never answered.
Yeah. That happens.
Yeah. I mean, he was, oh my God, I just remembered another weird thing, and it's pretty bad, but I'll use that one anyways. I remember we emailed him or we called him. I didn't have the relationship with him, but he never made the effort to, because we were happy to ship the ashes to him.
Sure.
But no, there was never really an answer. And I mean, we felt like, well, he literally left them in the closet. I mean, it was like somebody placed them in the back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
So there was an opportunity before that he didn't take. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And my second weird deal, these are short and sweet. So the second, I just remembered this. It was a property again. The owner was deceased, but the spouse was still living there. She had recently gone into a elderly home out in North Phoenix. Great little property. Really found out everything through the neighbors tell you everything. And in contacting the son in Pennsylvania, we did the contract, did the whole thing. He never came down. Again, it was one of those things where, but he was very helpful, but he did not have the money to come down. And if anything, selling the property would really help his mom establish herself and make sure that she had care at the home. And then he would also benefit and kind of do some repairs for his home in Pennsylvania. So it was a win-win for everybody. This young, I'll call her young woman who lived in the property, she collected angels. So like every angel, I remember we had to go during the week. Of course, I became like her friend for the time being, because we needed to get her moved out because we needed to start work on the property. We packaged up all the angels. We did the whole thing. I mean, we went through everything with her. I felt kind of bad. It's weird when you're taking care of somebody else's mother.
Yeah.
I don't know, because in my culture, obviously, if it's your family, you go above and beyond of making sure that they're okay, right, when something happens. For somebody to tell me that they're not going to be able to come down, and I get it. Sometimes finances do not allow us to. But I'm wrapping up your homes, your family's heirlooms. Like, there's all kinds of things in there. So we get to one of the days, and this is actually a really good story for another, when we talk about maybe doing deals and having the neighbors kind of help out and all of that. But there was one thing with this lady. She had guns in the house, and I'm not opposed to guns. I grew up with guns, but she wanted to keep them. And I remember telling her, I was like, no, you can't. Like, you're not, you can't keep them.
Right.
You're going to be in an elderly home. So I really doubt, So she said, well, that's the gun that my husband gave me. And I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think this is not a good idea. So I even talked to the care home, and I said, it's not like it's an old gun.
Right.
I don't, does not loaded. Like, there's no ammunition in the house. She can't just keep it. And they're like, oh, no, this and that. That lady pouted. She was angry. And I think she was, and I felt for her, because I thought, God, she can barely take anything with her. Some of the furniture we took, I made sure that she had some furniture, because when I visited her at the home, she had a bed and a recliner and boxes. That's it. Like, her son did not, other than the recliner, there really wasn't anything else for her. So we went above and beyond in making sure that she had furniture, that she had clothes for the rest of the year, that she had a good coat, those sorts of things. I'm like, the woman cannot, and the home can only take care of so many things.
Right.
So I did something bad. And I snuck the gun into her. I remember, I was like, because I felt so bad for her, and she had a little bit of a wild streak on her, and I was always so afraid that she was gonna come and say something, because she would say things about everybody and how bad things were, that this person did this, and she's gonna file this report, and this person, and I was just really like, we need to tread lightly here, because I did not want her coming back and saying that we mistreated her in any way.
Right.
When we purchased her home. So in an old purse, I put the gun in there. And when I went to see her, I think it was one of the final times, and I looked at her and I said, if you ever tell anybody that I gave you this, I'm gonna come back and get it. So she's like, and she got it, she picked it up, out of the purse. She put it in her little walker. You know those little walkers that have a little seat with a little cubby? So she puts it in there. She closes it and she sits on it. I'm, I'm hoping I'm hoping she put it somewhere else, in all honesty. But after it was like night and day. It's just she became completely. I don't know what it was, but I guess when you don't have anything else in your life, your son is nowhere to be. There's no other family. Your husband, your best friend is gone. Like any little thing, right? Just makes you feel better. But yeah, that was weird, and I hope that's why I'm not saying any names. I don't get in trouble somewhere down the line. But I haven't heard anything or any fiasco happening. I don't know. Really hope that somebody went, ape shit and did something. So fingers crossed.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Those were my two. Those are the two weirdest ones. I mean, there's another one that we talked about. If we have time, I'll talk about it in the end. But yeah.
That is so funny, of all the things to smuggle into a senior care home.
I know. And I think every now and then, Lisa, I think about it and I'm like, oh my God, Jesus, please, I'm like, powers that be, do not let people down.
Well, it doesn't sound like it was functional. What is she going to do with it?
Yeah, I know. But you never know. People can be crazy. I felt for her. And yeah, and she was hard of hearing. It was a little bit of a mess, the whole move out. Very interesting.
Yeah, the move outs tend to be messy.
Yeah.
I know. That is funny. Okay, so that's pretty, I would say on a scale of, not weird to weird, sneaking an old gun into a senior care facility to an old lady. Yeah. Probably not something that you would have thought that you'd be telling a story about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think even the guys know.
Maybe they do now.
I know. God.
Funny.
Hey man, whatever makes you feel better. I feel, and if you're doing it for somebody's good and whole, just for feeling whole.
That's a tough transition. I think for anyone, it's got to be even harder if you don't have family here to help. And she wasn't able to do the whole thing on her own. So I get it. Anything that offers some sense of security.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, I happen to deal with a lot of older people.
Yeah.
And I happen to really become because sometimes I thought about it. I'm like, should I just go visit, and just kind of see how she's doing? But I don't want to I mean, she was a riot. Wow. But there are some older folks that I've helped that I do miss. It was great to be around them for that time.
Yeah. It's always fun when you get a client like that. I had a fun one. We bought it was also an inherited home, and it was his mom's home and he took care of her until she passed. And he couldn't afford to keep up her home and his, and didn't quite, there was some family stuff going on that at the time that he considered selling was preventing him. So when I did touch base with him, he was real happy that someone could help. And he was so excited at what we were planning on doing, because it was the same thing, time capsule, right? The house looked exactly the same. It had original vintage, 1950s tile in the kitchen. It was really well maintained home. But he was excited to know what we were going to do to freshen it up, and he wanted pictures. And I will never forget that he came and signed closing papers in our office on Halloween Day. And he wore his jack-o'-lantern t-shirt and candy. And you know, and yeah, he was just very pleasant, very pleasant
Yeah.
with. So yeah, those
Yeah.
are fun when you get those. Those are a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just so thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my weirdest deal was a little condo in like north central Phoenix. Um, and it took us a while to figure out what was going on with it because it was a condo. We had door knocked it so many times, and there wasn't really like you couldn't see a lot of exterior evidence to be able to tell what was going on. You know, with a house, you kind of usually you can figure out when a house is vacant,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be a little harder sometimes with a condo. So it took us a little while to figure out that the condo was vacant. And at some point, I think we did get notification from a neighbor because they'd seen us coming and going so many times, and they had said, you know, that the lady passed away who owned it, and the neighbor said that her son had lived with her and wasn't doing real well after she had passed. And to their knowledge, the son left to go visit family in another state and never came back. So we followed up on that information, and we did, in fact, find the son and tracked him down. And he was out of state. However, I never had a conversation with him. Nobody, he wouldn't talk to anybody. We got his phone number, and at first I was calling and calling and calling and getting nowhere. And so finally I decided that I would send him a text and see if he would respond to that, and he responded immediately. So I did this entire deal over text because he didn't want to have a conversation about it. Oh, you're muted again. What happened? I'm muted? I'm not showing that I'm muted. Can't hear me? I can't hear you. We're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, it puts on, it
Boom,
puts
there
you
you
on
go.
mute. Yeah, it puts you on mute all of a sudden. It's really weird.
That's so odd.
I know.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if people like if it cut off at some point. So you were
Gotcha.
saying that he would not talk to anybody on the phone.
Okay, so just in case, we're going to rewind a little bit. He would not talk to anybody on the phone. I did catch him via text, and I did this entire deal over text message. He did not want to talk to anyone. And when we first started texting, and he was also very brief, like we weren't texting full sentences or paragraphs.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I was like,
I kept having to like revise things that I was asking him so he could just say yes or no, because he wouldn't have a full conversation. It was
wow.
really, really tricky. Because, you know, I'm trying to have the conversation that I'm used to having with someone who, you know, is in this particular situation and might be wanting to sell. And finally, I was so frustrated from the back and forth and getting a couple of one-word answers here or there, and then he would just disappear. And so I finally just texted him one day and said, "This is our offer." And I gave him the number. And I said, "I'm going to go ahead and send you a contract. What is your email?" And he just answered back with his email address, and that was it. And I was like, okay, I guess that's a yes that you want to sell.
God.
So I sent him the contract, you know, electronically via email. He signed it electronically, sent it back. At that point, I was like, okay, now I have to negotiate all this other stuff. Like, we need to get into the property. We kind of need to know what's going on. I mean, all the neighbor told me was that the guy left. So that was all I knew. And so I asked him for permission to enter the property. And I said, you could mail me keys if you still have keys to the property, and that makes, if that makes you feel better. But during my inspection period, I need to know what the interior looks like. I need to know what we're dealing with here, in case there's anything that I need to account for. And again, he wouldn't answer any of my questions when I would ask him via text, like, do you have pictures, or can you tell me anything that you know of that's broken? He would either say no or just not answer me. And so finally I said, okay, we need to get in the property. That's the only way that we're going to be able to finish this, and get it closed. Would you mind sending me keys to the property? Didn't want to send me keys. So I said, can I have permission to enter? Yes. Okay. So we took our locksmith over, and lo and behold, when we got into the property, it was not only completely full of stuff, like a hoarding situation, but it was like, it was literally like somebody just in the middle of the day up and left. There was food on the counter that had been there for like a year. Yeah. There was like food out on the counter. There was, there had been an animal at some point in the house that I assume he must have taken with him when he left. The trash hadn't been taken out in, I can't tell you how long. It was bad. It was bad. Luckily, the offer that we gave him, because it was a sight unseen offer, had accounted for worst case scenario, because that's typically what we do. If we can't see in the property before we give an offer, then it's like, well, this is the best we can do, because we're going to assume that absolutely everything in the whole place needs, a full rehab. And so in this instance, we were right. There's a lot of trash to clean out. But not only that, it seemed all of his possessions and all of his mom's possessions were still in the house. So now that I understand that this is happening, I'm trying to contact him in order to negotiate, how would you like for us to remove everything from the house, and what do you want? We will, and so again, this is difficult, right? Because when you're trying to have a conversation with someone who won't converse back, it's really difficult to get answers. And so I'm sending texts, do you want the contents of the house? And then not getting an answer. So then I'm doing 5 or 6 different iterations of that same sentence, trying to figure out how do I get, and I don't actually even know, I don't know what the reasoning behind any of this is, with the way that he communicates. I don't know, is he just not comfortable? Does he just not really want to talk to me? Is there potentially like a learning disability that I don't understand? And so I'm doing a bad job. I don't know anything about anything. So I'm just trying to do what I can here. And so we had a lot of difficulty having that conversation with him, and he wouldn't talk about his mom's belongings at all. And so I did say, I see some stuff here. He had in his room a lot of collector type things. And so I said, I see that you have a lot of things here that look like they might be collection items. We're happy to buy a pod, and we will have it brought to the property. We'll load in it whatever you like, and we can have it sent to you. Are you interested in doing that? No. Okay. Are you leaving all your things behind? No. Okay. Well, and so then I'm having to explain that, like, we're going to close on the property, and what we need to do is get everything out of there, because we're reselling this property. Like, we're fixing it, we're cleaning it, and we need to resell. And he would say, I understand. So the possessions we need to understand what you want to do with these possessions. And then we would be back at square one every single time. So finally, So I thought back on, okay, what did I do with the contract? And I just said, this is what it is, because apparently what I was running into was giving options was not working. It was not working. So I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We are going to have a pod. We're going to fill everything in the house, and we're going to put it all in a pod. And we're going to park it at our office, right?
Yep.
We're going to give you 30 days. And if you can't make arrangements within those 30 days, we will extend it and we will send it to the storage facility if that's what you would like to do. And this is how long we'll pay for. We'll give you all of the information for the storage facility, and then you're welcome to contact them and make your arrangements to have it shipped or to come and pick it up, whatever you would like to do. And he says, okay. And I said, I'm sending you a contract that says all of this. And he signs off on it. Okay, great. So we go, and I believe that you and Henrik came and helped when we were starting to clear the property out and moving everything.
Henrik did, yes, and I remember Henrik did all the trash first. And I remember him telling me, he's like, how do you live like how do you accumulate that much trash? One.
So much trash.
So much trash. He's like, it was just like hills and things, like this, like as tall as him, of just trash. And living like that.
Yeah. And like, the fridge was full, the cupboards were full. I mean, it was like taking an existing house that someone was living in and moving everything. So took us a while. We got everything into the pod. And this is really awkward, right? Because we're dealing with people's personal belongings. And like I said, it wasn't like he closed up the house and put everything away. You know, he had a wallet. His wallet was sitting on his desk next to his computer. Like he literally left the state without his wallet.
Yeah. That's right.
And I was like, this is so weird. I don't even know like how this works or what this person was doing. So we pack everything up, we move the pod to our office, and you know, we're sort of waiting for him to make some decisions. And now that we are closed on the property and our company are the new owners, we start getting letters from the HOA. And so the first letter we get from the HOA is, you have a car that has not been moved from its space in X amount of months. And I want to say it was like 18 months or 22 months or something like that. And the car is, what do they call it? Disabled or whatever.
Yeah.
And he had backed in and it was an SUV. So because of the four-wheel drive or something like that, the HOA was unable to tow it. They had attempted to, and they were unable to tow it. And then they tried to charge us, and I was like, wait. This is not our car. This is the former owner's car. So you can't come back and charge us back, you know, expenses for towing.
Yeah.
That's not our responsibility. But they tried to. So now we find out that we have this car there. And we have to figure out what to do with the car. So I'm texting him again. Hey, I just found out your car is here. What are you doing with the car, dude? No answer. Okay. And so John goes, you know, to the place to try to see if he can get the car started. So we get our locksmith over there to open up the car. And John is in there fiddling around trying to see if there's a way that we can start the car, and it hasn't been started in so long, and you know the tires are shot and everything else. And so then in order to appease the HOA, we tow the car to the office. And the car and the pod are sitting in front of the office at this point. And then we start getting more letters from the HOA. By the way, you have a tree in the backyard that not only is encroaching upon the neighbor's area and the common area, but it has also grown roots that are disturbing the block wall. Okay, so now we need to repair the block wall. I assume that the HOA had been attempting this entire time to get in touch with the prior owner and get these things done, and it wasn't getting done. And so now that we've taken possession, all of this is our responsibility. And the HOA just can't wait to get us to comply. So they're going, we're not giving you any time to do this. You need to do this immediately.
Yeah.
So now we have to get to work on the block wall, and we have to fix that. And I am still attempting to communicate with the seller at this point about, like, what do you want us to do with your things? We need to figure out what to do here. And so again, I'm getting no answer, and we're moving on to other things. And so our time that we gave him to keep the pod at the office has now expired. And we're talking about, so are we going to go ahead and send it to the storage place? Well, so pods then tells us if we want to transfer it, if it needs to go to their facility and we want to transfer it, they need to talk to him and get his permission that he's going to take it over. Well, he won't have a conversation with pods. So then I'm saying, like, can you please, they're telling me that the only way to do this is via phone. They won't accept a letter. They won't accept something electronically. Can you please get on the phone with them? Absolutely not. I don't talk on the phone. So we say, okay, then we'll just hold it at our office for the duration. Because now we've got a contract that the guy signed. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So for 90 days, we had a pod and a car sitting in front of our office while we tried to negotiate with this seller. And we tried very hard to get him his things. And at the end of the time period, he still would not give us an answer one way or another about how to get his things up there. We offered multiple times to ship them. He didn't want that, or he wouldn't. He would either say no or he wouldn't answer. A lot of things he just wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
And so we finally got to the point where we had to send him a letter and say, we've exhausted every possibility here, and really we can't hold on to these possessions any longer. Your contract has expired. Here's your final notice. Nothing. We never got an answer. So now we're trying to decide, what do we do with all this stuff? It was a lot of stuff.
I remember it was like, first of all, his mom was a beautiful lady. Like she was like, we found pictures, and she definitely had, like, for every season, like she had things and decorations for this was like a Marshall's at a house. It was crazy the amount of things that she had, beautiful things that were just, really, she had great taste. Yeah. And I remember thinking, how this is sad. Like, do any of these little things, like, mean anything to, like, maybe, I guess not, like, you could tell, like, she was a woman of taste, and she took care of her son. The colognes, all, like, it was just, it was crazy how, and I have to tell you, like, you'll share whatever would happen with all those things, but I always say, like, I'm like, thanks, Catherine.
Right. Yeah, it was the weirdest situation, because everybody in the office felt like we all wanted to do the right thing. Like we wanted this person to have his things back, and we just couldn't communicate effectively. And at one point I did go back and speak to the neighbor again, because he seemed to be the only person who kind of knew anything, really, because the mother had lived there for a long time and she knew the neighbors. And so I did go back and speak to the neighbor. I said, look, I'm having a really hard time. Do you know of any other family members that I might be able to get in touch with, to try to help facilitate this? Is there someone else, that might be willing to make the decisions? Because clearly he's not able to make this decision. And, like, grief is difficult for people. I don't know how long it had been since she passed, but it had been a good period of time that he was gone anyway. And so the neighbor basically said, look, he said, he was this way when he was living here. I'm really not sure why, what the cause is, but he was very difficult even to communicate with, and I think that that's why he continued to live with his mom. And he said, my understanding was that he did go live with other family members, but that no one really wants to deal with anything that's happening down here. And he had even said that he tried to make contact at some point because he knew the property was vacant.
Mhm.
And he was going, look, you guys, the HOA is coming around wanting to know what's happening. Are you going to do something here? And he said that no one would cooperate with him. And so at that point, we figured it's been months and months that we've been working on this. So at that point, we figured, there's nothing more that we could do. And we did give him fair warning. So we did send one final letter saying, this is it. We have to now dispose of these possessions. And he never answered. So we had a massive yard sale at our office because so we were going to get charged a bunch more money. If we just let Pods take the thing full, then we were going to get charged a bunch of money for leaving the possessions because you can't just leave stuff, right?
Yeah, I remember.
So we couldn't just have them haul it away. That wasn't an option. And then we were going to donate, and then we were trying to find who to donate to, but we had an entire house full of stuff. And what we found out happens when you try to donate is that the places that accept donations want things parsed out in a certain way. They won't just come and take a whole entire pod of stuff and then decide what to do with it on their own. And so we were like, okay, what are we supposed to do here? And so we decided to have a massive yard sale because we couldn't find another solution.
Yeah, that was insane. In the middle of July.
It was so freaking hot. And there were tons of people there because, we had china and we had clothes and we had furniture and art and you name it. It was there. The entire front parking area of our office was completely full. I have pictures of it somewhere.
Yeah, I remember because even I think I remember I took Yoda for one day. It was just, yeah, we were there 2 weekends in a row, I thought.
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
So that was how we did away with the stuff. And so it was a little extra, we made a few $100s extra, I guess, but we really just didn't know what to do. And so 2 weekends of a yard sale, and then whatever we had left over, we were able to donate because it was a smaller amount at that point, and we were able to get some folks to come and pick things up. And we never heard from the seller again.
No, that was so weird. Well, we ended up, I think I just donated the last box of crystal. Because at some point there was crystal and somebody that I knew wanted it, and then they never ended up coming over to get it. So I packed up a box of crystal, I remember, and Kim had a box of crystal in her office. So when the office moved, there's still things that are somewhere here and there. Every now and then I'll see something and I'm like, oh, that was from Catherine's house. It was weird. The whole thing, the way, because you only talked via text, period. And then somebody they walked away. That's it.
It was even weird. I actually got a phone call from the notary when the closing docs were being signed because he wouldn't go into the title company. So he was out of state, but our title company here was willing to send the paperwork to their sister title company that was in the same town, that he was in, and they would have made him an appointment, and he said no. So we hired a mobile notary, which is not uncommon. We do that all the time. So we hired a mobile notary. And the notary had called me and said, I got everything signed, but they said this was one of the most difficult signings that I've ever done. And I was like, I'm really sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
Why though?
So apparently at the beginning, and I didn't realize that this was going to be an issue or that I would have to explain it, but he was very upset that the notary asked for his ID. And he didn't want to provide identification to the notary. And of course, as we all know, you can't sign legal documents to sell a property without showing your ID. The notary has to put it in their book. So I guess they went around and around a couple times, and the notary, explained, this is the only way that we can get this property sold. If you're not willing to do this, then these people aren't going to buy it. And he did finally cave and gave them his license. And they don't know why. He wouldn't explain why he was upset about it, or why he didn't want to provide ID. But they got it done at the end of the day. Notary was not real happy with me. And then I had to explain to the notary, like, I'm sorry, I've never even had a conversation with this person because I can't even get him on the phone. So I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and the thing too, also, just a side note, but for a notary, I'm a notary, you can sign without an ID, but you need a witness to, and they have to show their ID. So, and it has to be like somebody with, like a family member,
Sure.
Somebody with, a priest, or, that knows you and the family, that sort of thing. Because it's happened to us before, and they couldn't sign, so we needed to figure around another way. So you can, but so that means to me, like, he's on his own, and he's not. Yeah, he's alone, and maybe he has that, where he feels like everything is an invasion of privacy kind of thing, and he's just doesn't want to, off the grid kind of thing.
Yeah, it was very strange. We looked for him on social media at the time because we were trying to find different ways that we could communicate with him effectively. And the guy was a ghost, basically. I mean, other than having a cell phone number, there was no, he had no presence on social media. I mean, he did have an email, but you could email him something and he wouldn't answer it back. So it was a very. It's funny because in some ways it was easy. The deal in some ways was easy because, it's not often that you send a contract and somebody signs it immediately and sends it back.
Yeah.
Usually there's a lot of back and forth and negotiation and blah, blah, blah. And so in some ways it was like, well, he was receptive to certain things, but in other ways it was really difficult to get the answers that we needed on some things. And so for me, it was new because I'm used to presenting, like, here are your options, these are the different things we can do, and having someone agree to one, or at least want to negotiate something and say, well, this is what I want, and then okay, we come to an agreement. And that's typically the way that I do my deals. And this was very, very different. I had to just give very black and white, here are the contracts, this is what we will and will not do. And that was what got, his response.
Wow. I remember, and I remember thinking to myself, like, why would anybody leave all of these, like, really nice things? I don't know, just because, I mean, there was everything you could think of was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So,
yeah.
That was a one of a kind. I have not done another deal like that. I mean, I've had other deals where people wanted to be somewhat hands off. I've definitely had, you and I both have had a number of deals where they left everything in the house.
Yes.
That's fairly common. Usually it's not stuff as nice as what's in this house, though. Usually they leave it behind for a reason.
No, do you remember, and it's not a weird deal, but it's funny. And this is the one also was an elderly gentleman who had passed. And I'm not sure if you ever went to this property. It was downtown, close to the office, that like uptown area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Miss Mr. Mr. Sims, we'll call him Mr. Sims. Mr. Sims, the condo, the little apartment was empty for a long time. I think it was a few months. I mean, it wasn't super long. No, maybe it was about a year. But in like he was he had like those like nudie pictures of women.
Oh, I remember those.
And you were like in the like you would in the cupboards of the kitchen, you would open the cupboard and there'd be like a nudie picture on the door. So you like close it back up and you open the other one, it's like a nudie picture there too. It was so funny. I remember we were in Zach, John's son, had come with us because we were looking at certain things and what we were gonna empty out and stuff. And he went to the bathroom, and in the bathroom he closed the door, and there was like a big poster size of a nude picture of a lady, and he ran out, and he's like, "That is just not right." I remember he yelled and screamed like, "That is just not right. That is just not right." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And I felt so bad because I'm thinking, I'm sure it startled him completely, like to see this massive picture. I took it down. I was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't open any doors." It was so bad.
You
And
know
how
what's even worse?
you know?
It's not as uncommon as you would think, because I don't know if you remember, you'll remember when I tell you the deal that you and I went in to the seller's house to negotiate together. And when we walked in the front door, down the hall, it was just nudie pictures all over. And I was like, really?
Framed nudie pictures.
Framed.
Like, what? Just, oh my god, that man, he was so, it's like this, like it makes like I want to gag when I think about him.
Yeah, he was skin crawly. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you never go negotiate a seller alone. Because I am certain that would not have been safe.
No, because he kept us in there for like an hour.
Oh my god.
And I remember we kept trying to like inch our way out, and he would just come up with some or show us something, and you're like, and you're trying to like, okay, well, wrapping it up, and nothing. It's just,
yeah.
Like I told Lisa, when we were thinking about trying to figure out like what kind of deals, weird deals, are just out of the ordinary. I mean, I feel like most of them are, to be honest, most of them are.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had a lot of experience in the realm of weird, for sure.
But yeah, that I'll never forget that. That's just not right. That's just not right. He's like, why would he put that there, Angie? Why would he put that there? And I remember saying, like, people are strange. You know, we just, what can you do? Don't, we're not like that. It's okay. So I took it down. I'm thinking, oh my God, how embarrassing. Like, yeah, it was so uncomfortable, poor kid. It was just, yeah. Fun times.
Fun times. Yeah. Yeah. It's man, the stuff you find in people's houses. So if if there's anything that I've learned from all these weird deals and all these vacant houses that we've purchased, it's have a plan for your stuff when you go. I know that people aren't really thinking about this, but like you might want to, have something put in your paperwork that has a friend or a sibling or somebody going into your house and, perhaps removing certain items or
yes,
boxing some things up, because man, have we found some weird and inappropriate and like freaky things in the houses that we buy.
I don't think, I mean, obviously if the person is deceased, you don't really think about it very, you just kind of like shrug it off. But you start to, because then you don't know what to, should you still be in contact with the family, or the family wants some of the, You
Right.
just, it's so awkward. Like, you don't know what to, there's a bag full of porn in the closet.
Yep.
You know, like,
Found that a number of times.
yeah, so it's like, what do you do with that? Is it collector's? This is the first thing, obviously, the first thing we think about is like, was it a collector's item? Could we sell it? Like, is it something else we could do with it? It's weird. The whole thing is just, it's definitely an industry or an arena of anything can happen, anything goes most of the time.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun times.
I think we're good on time.
I think so. So yeah, I think we could probably do a whole nother episode on other weird deals.
Yeah.
Because I know that both of us have experienced many of them.
I think there is the one that I was going to talk about. Obviously, the folks were in Mexico, but it might be a good idea to talk about things that happen outside of the country, because I know both of us have had to deal with folks that are not in the country when their property is in distress for foreclosure or like something's happening.
Yes, that actually is a really good idea. I do think that we should cover that topic. I would love if someone might mention in the comments if they're interested in hearing about that, because we are in the Southwest and we're bordering on Mexico here, and we have a lot of folks who own property here and don't necessarily live here full time, or they own property here and family members maybe utilize it, and either they go back and forth, or they lived here for a period of time and they decided to keep the property and they've gone back to Mexico. And depending on what the situation is, it can get very complicated when you're dealing with distress in that arena, because the laws that we have here are not the same as the laws for owning property in Mexico. So a lot of people find themselves in a situation that they didn't know was going to happen here, because the things that they have to do here to keep a property, they don't have to do there.
Exactly.
So I think that would be a really good topic, because I think we've run into that a number of times, and I think it's actually fairly common here. And a lot of investors probably think that there isn't anything that can be done, and that's not true. We found out a lot about, you have to go through the proper channels, but
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end sometimes. But I think there is ways to deal with when both governments have to, figure out a way how to work with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also because, yes, some people from Mexico might come and then they decide to leave, and they leave the house to their cousin to take care of, or a family member, and that cousin also disappears. Then you're just trying to figure that out. It'll be an interesting talk for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So yes, we'll go over that topic, because I think that's really good to know if you're working in anywhere in the Southwest, Arizona, Texas, California, New Mexico, all of those areas you could run into this kind of thing. So
yeah. And the Canadian owners too, that happen to own a lot of property here too.
Yes, we run into that actually pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And, and that's tricky as well.
Yeah. So
that's a good topic.
Yeah. Awesome.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ange.
Thank you, Lisa. Absolutely. It's been a good hour, good Saturday.
Yes, and thanks everybody who was watching. I don't see any comments so far, but feel free to come on after the fact and put some comments. We always check them out and answer them, even if they weren't live during the recording. And we will leave this up for replay.
Yep, awesome.
Awesome. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great Saturday.
Bye guys.